Sir, good afternoon. For me, the most effective trade remedy measure among the three is the safeguard measure. First, because a safeguard measure has two specialization, which is the general safeguard measure and the special safeguard measure. First, the general safeguard measure, it is imposed more specifically to the increased number of imports of the industrial goods. And of course, the second one is the special safeguard measure that is imposed especially for the agricultural products or the importation of agricultural products. This is helpful to the local farmers, most especially because this particular special safeguard measure has implemented a specific law, which is the Republic Act 11203, or the Rice Tariffication Law of the Philippines, in which the member of the ASEAN or the member state of ASEAN has 35% of tariffication for the importation of rice and 40% for the non-members of ASEAN, with a 350,000 tons minimum access volume. If also 180% imposed for those who are not member in the ASEAN and above the minimum access volume of the importation. So by that, I guess this is quite effective for the protection of the local farmers, the local producers or the domestic producers of different products here in our community, our country. Now, I'll be answering question number 2 to differentiate the price undercutting, price depression, and price suppression. But first, let us start with price depression. When we say price depression, it is when the domestic sellers or the domestic producers reduces its price in order to compete with the allegedly imported products, and that's why we have what we call this price depression, because our local farmers, local producers, domestic producers, in order to compete, they will lower their prices. For example, China has been importing to the Philippines, let's say for example, ball pen. We also have our domestically produced ball pen. Now, the imported ball pen sold at a lower price compared to the minimum price here in the Philippines. For example, the ball pen in China sold in the Philippines costs 6 pesos. Here in the Philippines, the cost production, the cost of the ball pen is 7. So in order to compete with the local, with the imported product, the local farmer producer will lower or reduces its price in order to compete. If they will reduce the price, instead of 7 pesos or 8 pesos, they will mark it down by 6 pesos or lower than 6 pesos in order to compete with the imported price, or with the imported products rather. And now, price suppression. So the price suppression, it is referred to prevent the imported or the imported products, preventing the local farmers, producers, the domestic producers, the domestic products in increasing its price in order to in the word in Tagalog, to make bawi for the price of the costs production. In the price suppression, they will prevent that to happen due to also to the competition. In my own thoughts and ideas, for example, price suppression comes, for example, again, of cell phone. A cell phone from China has a lower price or costs, so that cost or that lower price will prevent will prevent the domestically produced cell phone in increasing its price, because the imported product, their competition is hit The imported shrimp, of course, the local the local product will um, compete through making or marking its price down. That's and then that's why there is price suppression, because this imported product will prevent the locally produced product in making or increasing its price. That's it. And the price undercutting is that the imported product is constantly sold its product at a lower price. For example, another item, let's say clothes, imported clothes from China, other products has been sold consistently in the lower price compared to the domestic product. And now let's discuss the elements under the safeguard measures. The general safeguard measures has 4 elements, and the special safeguard measure has 2 elements. First, I'd like to discuss the 4 elements under general safeguard measure. The first element is the like product or directly competitive product. The second element is the increased import. The third element is the serious injury or threat thereof, and the last element is the causality. Now, when we talks about like product, it is when two products are both identical and comparable to each other, both imported products and domestically produced product. Let's say, for example, an imported ball pen which has 4 colors, and also a locally produced product which has 2 colors, and this is what we call the comparable, because they are both for writing and they could be used also for drawing. So in the absence of the imported product, this particular locally produced product could be used instead of that particular imported product. Now, when we say directly competitive product, this is also means that the locally produced product is an alternative or substitutable to the to the absence of the imported products. Those ballpen who have 4 colors, and these imported product, locally produced product who has 2 colors, but these products are its prime purpose is for writing or for drawing. So that's what we call the like product or the directly competitive product. Now, let's proceed to the increased imports. When we say increased imports, either either in absolute terms or relative to the domestic production, and the importation should be recent, sharp, and significant. Now, for in my understanding about these types, when domestic products runs out of supply, this is when the importation should be recent or happened not long ago. This is when the importation should be significant, because it is comprehensive that the locally produced product runs out of supply, or there is shortage or scarcity. That's why the increased import should be relative to the domestic production. And now the third element is the serious injury or threat thereof. Now, when we say serious injury, it is the significant impairment, or it is the effect of increased imports, an assessment, an evaluation made by the competent authorities. They have seen that the effect of increased import has a negative advantage to the local farmers, the domestic industry, because of the number of employment has down, the profit, there is profit losses, there is the productivity has been affected, and of course the production. That's why that's what we call the serious injury of increased imports in the domestic industry. Now, The threat thereof, it is imminent. When we say imminent, it is to happen possibly sooner or later. So the word threat and imminent is synonymous, since these words could be compared to the word warning, meaning it's not yet happening, it could happen possibly sooner or later. Now, the last element is the causality. When we say causality, it is the direct result, direct serious injury suffered by the domestic industry due to the increased imports. As what I said earlier, there is an effect or negative effect of the employment, the productivity. These factors is caused by the increase of imports. And now let's proceed to the elements under special safeguard measures, which is the first element is that the volume of import exceed a base trigger level, and the second one is the price of imports fall below a price trigger level. Now, the first one is that the volume of imports exceed a base trigger level. Let's imagine that this is a graph. This is the base trigger level, and this is the numbers of importation. So this is the base trigger level, and the volume of import exceed the base trigger level. Now it would trigger and it would affect to the of course the local producers, the local farmers most especially. Now let's proceed also to the second element, which is the price of imports fall below under the price trigger level. Another example, let's imagine this is a graph. This is the price trigger level, and this is the price of imports, and it falls below under price trigger level. Now the price of imported products is lower than the domestic product, and again it will affect the local producers, to the domestic producers, to the domestic industry. That's why it should be balanced and it should be assessed properly. That's why there are what we call the implementation of laws, the imposition of remedy measures in order to protect the rights, and of course to protect the economic stability of our country as well, to protect the local producers, our farmers, and of course our employment, and the profit will increase as well. So sir, that will be all, and thank you so much. God bless you.